I did not choose the room. That is the first lie people tell themselves when they survive something, that there was a choice. The room was already waiting when I arrived, patient in the way old things are patient, certain that time would finish what intention could not. It was on the third floor of a municipal archive building slated for demolition, a narrow place of dust and paper where the air tasted faintly metallic, like rain held too long in the mouth. The job was simple: catalog what remained, flag what mattered, leave the rest to the machines. I had done this kind of work before, in libraries that smelled like glue and promises, in offices where secrets went to retire. None of those places had listened to me breathe. The room did. I noticed it the first evening, after the building had emptied and the security lights hummed awake. The sound was subtle, a soft answer to my inhalation, as if the walls were practicing the rhythm of lungs.
I told myself it was ventilation, a duct shifting as temperatures changed. Rational explanations are a warm coat we put on against the cold of noticing. I wore mine and went on working. There were shelves bolted to the walls, their metal backs scarred with decades of fingerprints. Boxes sagged with folders tied in twine that had lost its color. Names surfaced and sank as I worked, addresses crossed out, dates underlined twice, marginal notes in a hand that pressed too hard. People reduced to paper always make the living feel heavier, more temporary. I wrote inventory codes and tried not to imagine the moments when each document had mattered enough to be created. At 9:17 p.m., the room cleared its throat. It was not a cough. It was the preparatory sound someone makes when they intend to speak, the small, polite noise before language begins. I froze, pen hovering above a clipboard. The sound came again, closer this time, directly behind me.
When I turned, there was nothing. Only the door, closed as it had been since I arrived, the exit sign glowing like an accusation. I laughed once, too loud, the kind of laugh that asks to be forgiven for existing. I should have left then. Instead, I told myself a better lie, that fear is a habit, and habits can be broken by exposure. I stayed. Over the next week, the room learned me. That is the only word that fits. It learned how I set my bag down in the same place every night, how I counted my steps between shelves, how my right hand hesitated before opening boxes marked confidential, even though the stamp was meaningless now. It learned the cadence of my thoughts, because thoughts have a cadence, a tide that moves even when no one is listening. I found the first anomaly in a ledger dated 1972. The page numbers skipped backward. 114 followed 98, then 212, then 114 again, as if the book had lost track of itself. In the margin beside page 114, someone had written a single sentence in red pencil. "If you read this, close the door." I looked up, pulse quickening, and saw that the door was already closed. The next night, my name appeared where it did not belong. Typed, clean, correct. It was on a form for a demolition permit issued decades before I was born. My name sat in the signature line, the ink dark and confident. I checked my identification, my email, my reflection in the black glass of a cabinet door. The reflection did not lag or smile back. It did nothing wrong. That should have comforted me. It did not. Sleep became a rumor. When I closed my eyes, I dreamed of shelves breathing, of paper flexing like muscle. I dreamed that the room was a throat and the building a body clearing itself of something unwanted. When I woke, my hands smelled of dust and iron, and the skin around my nails was raw, as if I had been scraping at something stubborn and alive. On Friday, I tried to leave early.
The elevator stalled between floors, lights flickering, a recorded voice apologizing in a loop that grew increasingly intimate, as though it were speaking only to me. When the doors finally opened, they did so onto the third floor again. I stepped out because standing still felt worse than moving. The room's door was open. Inside, the boxes were arranged into a narrow corridor that had not existed before. The shelves leaned inward, a suggestion rather than a threat. At the end of the corridor was a chair, and on the chair sat a single folder,
its tab labeled with my name in handwriting I recognized from the margins of my own notebooks. I told myself one last lie, that knowledge is safer than ignorance, and sat. The folder was thin. Inside was a timeline of my life, rendered in municipal language. Enrollment records, minor violations, hospital visits described without tenderness. At the bottom of the last page was a blank line labeled Date of Closure. The room inhaled.
I felt it in my chest, a pressure that matched my own breath until I could not tell which was leading. Somewhere behind the walls, something practiced the sound of my voice, shaping it carefully, kindly. I stood, meaning to run, but the corridor had shortened, the exit a rumor now, the shelves closer than before. That was when the room spoke my name aloud. It said it the way my mother used to, the way that meant come here, the way that meant be careful, the way that meant you are mine for a moment longer. The sound filled the space and settled into me, rearranging something small and essential. I understood then that the room did not want to kill me. Killing would be wasteful. The room wanted to file me correctly. I told myself that the room had not spoken, that it had been the building settling, a pipe sighing, the elevator motor dying in slow motion. I told myself my name was a sound I carried everywhere, and any echo could steal its shape. I told myself so many things that night that my head felt crowded, like a box packed too tight and tied with twine. Then I looked down at the folder again and saw new pages. They had not been there a moment ago. I knew the exact weight of the paper when I first opened it. I knew because I had been holding my breath the whole time, measuring fear by grams. Now the folder was heavier. The new pages were warmer than the rest, as if they had been printed moments ago and rushed into place. The top line read, "Subject shows signs of resistance. Increase familiarity." I flipped the page with a shaking thumb. There was a paragraph in crisp, bureaucratic language describing the scene exactly as it was happening. Me seated, me scanning, me thinking of my mother's voice. It included details no file could know. The taste of metal in the air, the tiny sting in my left eye from a contact lens that had dried out hours earlier, the fact that I kept my right foot tucked back as if ready to sprint. At the bottom, in the same red pencil as the ledger warning, someone had written, "Ask it a question. It likes questions." The room inhaled again, a deep, slow pull that made the dust on the desk tremble like skin. The shelves leaned closer. The corridor of boxes remained, too neat, too deliberate, like a mouth arranged into a smile. I should not have spoken, but the truth is, fear makes you perform. It turns you into an actor, desperate to find the line that ends the scene. I heard my own voice come out, small and careful. "Who are you?" The security light above me flickered, as if considering. Then the telephone on the shelf to my right, an old rotary phone that hadn't been there yesterday, clicked once, gently, like a knuckle against wood. The receiver lifted itself, not fast, not dramatic, just enough to make the message unbearable. I can move things if I want to. The dial turned on its own, slowly, and the phone began to ring. It rang with a sound that belonged in another decade, sharp and honest, a bell that didn't apologize. Every ring felt like it was striking somewhere behind my ribs. I stared at it, unwilling to touch it, unwilling not to. The room's breathing matched the rhythm of the ringing now, and for a moment the whole space seemed to synchronize. Lights, shelves, paper, my pulse, like an orchestra tuning to a single note. On the fifth ring, I snatched the receiver. Stack hissed, then softened, then formed a voice. Not synthetic, not recorded. Human, in the way of memory is human. "Hello?" it said. My throat locked. The voice was mine. Not mine as I sounded now, older, frayed, but mine from years ago, from a voicemail I had left someone who never called back. A younger version of my voice, bright with false certainty. "I'm on my way," my old voice said. "I'll be there in 10. Then the line went dead. I lowered the receiver slowly.
My hands were sweating so hard the plastic squeaked.
When I looked back at the folder, another line had appeared on the last page. Contact established. Proceed to retrieval. Retrieval. The word sat in my mind like a hook. I had used it 1,000 times professionally. Retrieval request, retrieval schedule, retrieval protocol. In this room, it meant something else. It meant me, sitting here, being handled. I stood so abruptly, the chair scraped, and the scrape sounded up a scream in the quiet. The corridor of boxes shifted. Not visibly, no dramatic slide, but the angle changed, the perspective subtly wrong, like a photograph taken a second before an accident. The exit sign at the far end pulsed once, dimming to a sickly orange. I forced myself to walk, one foot, then the other. The shelves watched with their faceless backs, the boxes lined up like witnesses. The closer I got to the doorway, the colder the air became, as if the room did not want me to carry heat out of it. My hand reached for the doorframe. A paper cut opened across my palm.
It wasn't from touching paper. I hadn't touched anything. The cut simply appeared, thin and precise, as if the room had measured where it would hurt most. Blood welled up bright against my skin. The room breathed in sharply, almost eager, and the blood stopped, as if the air itself had pressed a bandage over the wound. I jerked my hand back, trembling. Behind me, the phone clicked again. The receiver settled itself neatly back onto the cradle. A moment later, the lamp above the desk turned on, brighter than before, throwing a perfect circle of light onto the chair. It looked like a spotlight. It looked like an invitation. I was being directed. I left anyway. The corridor fought me in small ways. Boxes nudged closer so my shoulders brushed cardboard. Shelves seemed to swell so I had to turn sideways. Each time I tried to hurry, the room responded by making the world feel slightly thicker, as if the air had gelled.
It was subtle enough that I could almost blame myself. Fatigue, stress, imagination. That was the worst part. The room made its cruelty plausible. When I finally stepped out into the hallway, the building felt different. Not safer, never safe, but different. The fluorescent lights buzzed with a nervous energy, and the long corridor outside the archive room seemed to stretch farther than it should. My footsteps echoed behind me in perfect imitation, a half-beat delayed, like someone following at a respectful distance. I did not look back. The elevator was at the end of the hall. The indicator light above it was off. I pressed the button. Nothing. I pressed again, harder. Still nothing. Then I heard the softest sound from inside the archive room, through the closed door behind me. The slow, steady crinkle of paper being turned. It was reading. It was reading me. I made for the stairs instead. The stairwell door opened with a sigh that felt like resignation.
The concrete steps spiraled down into darkness. The emergency light flickered weakly, casting the kind of shadows that can convince you a shape has intent. I began to descend, keeping one hand on the railing. Halfway down, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out with shaking fingers. There was no signal in the building. There never was. Still, I had a notification, a calendar alert. Event. Closure time. 11:11 p.m. Location. 3rd floor archive. Under it, a note field had been filled in. Bring what you borrowed. My mouth went dry. I hadn't borrowed anything. I hadn't taken a single document out of the room. I was meticulous, obsessive, the kind of person who counted staples and returned pens to their original cup. I scrolled through my recent photos, needing something rational, something ordinary. My gallery was full of shelf numbers, box labels, torn corners I had documented for repair. I stopped on a photo I didn't remember taking.
It was a picture of me sitting in the chair in the circle of light. I was facing the camera. My face was visible. I stared at it until my vision blurred. The photo was black and white, grainy, like it had been shot on an old phone from the early 2000s. The angle was wrong too high, as if taken from the ceiling.
My eyes in the picture were open wider than they should be, pupils blown out, and my mouth was slightly open, as if I had just realized something too late. On the desk in front of me, perfectly centered, was the folder labeled with my name. On my wrist, my left wrist, was a tag, a white paper tag tied with twine, like the kind used to label evidence bags. On it, in crisp typed letters, "Return to shelf." My phone buzzed again. Another notification, an email, from an address that was nothing but numbers and hyphens. The subject line, RE-U. I opened it. There was no body text, only an attachment, a PDF. The PDF loaded instantly, even without signal. It was a document titled Archive Room Retrieval Protocol. Under that title, in bold, was a line that turned my stomach into ice. If subject attempts to exit building, initiate outside contamination simulation. Below it were steps, numbered and clinical, describing exactly how to make a person doubt the world beyond the door, how to use familiarity to make the street feel wrong, how to alter signage, voices, reflections, how to make a subject walk in circles while believing they are escaping. At the bottom of the protocol, in the margin, in red pencil, "It's easier if they come back willingly." My fingers tightened around the phone until it hurt. The stairwell suddenly felt too narrow, as if the concrete walls were leaning closer to hear what I would do next. I forced myself down the remaining steps and pushed through the exit door. Cold night air slapped my face. For one breath, it felt like freedom. The street was there, the distant sound of a car, the smell of exhaust and damp pavement. Ordinary. Then I looked up. The building across the street had no windows, not boarded, not dark. Simply smooth brick where windows should be. My mind tried to correct it, tried to overlay the right image, tried to remember if it had always been like that. A pedestrian passed on the sidewalk. Their face was turned away, collar up, hands in pockets. As they walked by, they spoke my name without looking at me, softly, like a secret. The streetlights flickered in sequence, one after another, down the block, like a signal being sent. The air tasted metallic again. The sound of my breathing was answered, not by the room this time, but by the city itself, as if the archive had extended its lungs outward. My phone vibrated one more time. A message, no number attached, just a blank sender. 11:11 p.m. Don't make us come get. I stood on the sidewalk, staring at the street that suddenly felt staged, the buildings too flat, the night too quiet between distant noises, like a set waiting for actors. And for the first time, the most terrifying thought rose up clear and simple. What if the archive room wasn't keeping me in? What if it had already filed the outside world under me, and everything beyond that door was just another shelf? If you were in my place right then, would you keep walking into the street, or would you go back upstairs before the city learned your name too? This is where most people would sign. I didn't run. Running would have been an admission that the street was real enough to escape through. Instead, I stood perfectly still, like a person trying to avoid being selected by a predator that hunts by motion. The air tasted like pennies. The streetlights continued their subtle blinking down the block, not random, sequenced, purposeful, like a cursor moving across a sentence. I looked back at the archive building. The entrance behind me was a black rectangle cut into stone. The security camera above the door was pointed directly at my face. Its tiny red LED pulsed once, slow, like a heartbeat. My phone buzzed again. Reminder, closure, 11:11 p.m. A second line appeared underneath the reminder, as if someone were typing in real time. You don't have to be afraid. You already belong to the record. I forced myself to walk, not away, not toward, just along the sidewalk, toward the corner store with a neon sign that had always been there. Always. I repeated that word in my head like a charm. Always.
The pavement felt too even under my shoes, like a newly installed floor. The night sounds were slightly delayed, as if the world needed a moment to decide what it was allowed to make. At the corner, the neon sign read, "Open," but the letters were wrong. The O was an oval that leaned. The P was too tall. It looked like someone had drawn it from memory, not from fact.
A man inside the store stood at the counter, back to me. He wore a dark jacket and had his hands in front of him, resting on the glass. When he turned, his face was in shadow, the features blurred by the fluorescent lights behind him, but his voice was clear. "Late night," he said, and then, without any warmth, "You should go back." My throat tightened. "Do you know me?" The man tilted his head. "I know your file." A laugh tried to escape me and died halfway. "I don't have a file." He reached under the counter and slid something forward. It was a folder, thin and clean, like it had never touched dust. My name was on the tab. My name, again in that handwriting that matched mine too closely. I didn't touch it. I stared at it as if it might bite. The man's fingers tapped the counter once, twice, impatient, like a clerk dealing with a customer who didn't understand procedure. "It's overdue." My phone vibrated. Another message from the blank sender. "Outside contamination. Stage 1 complete."
My stomach flipped. I backed away from the store window. The glass reflected my face too sharply, like a mirror polished to cruelty. For a second, the reflection didn't match my movements. The reflected me blinked half a beat later, smile muscles twitching as if testing a new expression. Then, it synchronized again, innocent. I turned from the store and looked down the street. A city bus rolled by with its interior lights on. Through the windows, every passenger sat with a folder on their lap, heads bent, reading. Not one face visible. Collars up, hats low, shadows placed just right. The bus number displayed on the front wasn't a number. It was my birth date. I stumbled back toward the archive building because suddenly it was the only thing that felt honest about wanting me. The street wasn't trying to hide it anymore. It was trying to process me. Every step felt like walking deeper into a system that had already decided the outcome.
At the building entrance, the security camera's red light pulsed faster. The door unlocked with a soft click before I touched it, like a mouth opening in anticipation. Inside, the lobby was dim, emptied of its daytime bureaucracy. The directory board on the wall listed offices that didn't exist. Among them, 3rd floor, retrieval/intake. My chest tightened. I pressed my palm to my ribs as if I could hold my heart in place by force. The elevator doors were open, waiting. The indicator light above it was on now, glowing a calm, obedient green. I stepped in. The doors slid shut. The elevator began to rise without me pressing any button. The fluorescent light overhead flickered, then steadied, bathing everything in a flat, clinical brightness. On the mirrored panel, my reflection looked normal, tired, pale, eyes too wide. Then words appeared on the mirror as if written by a finger in fog. "Thank you for returning." My skin went cold. The elevator stopped.
The doors opened onto the 3rd floor. The hallway was shorter than before, as if the building had rearranged itself for efficiency. The archive room door was open again. Warm light spilled out in a perfect circle across the floor. I stepped into the doorway and froze. The room had changed. The shelves were still there, but the boxes were gone. In their place, metal filing cabinets lined the walls, each drawer labeled with a typewritten category. Names, voices, mistakes, regrets, dreams. At the center, the desk was cleaner than it had ever been. The chair was pulled out, waiting. On the desk sat a single form, blank, except for the header. Subject transfer request. Below that, in neat typed text, "Please confirm you are willing to be reclassified." My phone buzzed one last time before the signal died completely. 11:10 p.m. The room inhaled, slow and deep. The circle of light brightened. The air thickened with that metallic taste, as if the building had started bleeding into the atmosphere.
I swallowed and forced my voice out, because silence felt like surrender, and speech felt like bargaining. If I don't sit, what happens? The telephone rang once, not 5 times, not politely, once, like a gavel. The filing cabinet drawer labeled names slid open by itself. Inside, I saw stacks of tags, thousands of them, all identical. White paper, twine, typed letters. And on top of the stack, waiting like it had been pulled aside for me, was a tag that read, unassigned. The room's breathing shifted, aligning with mine again, not matching, leading, guiding my lungs like hands on a puppet strings. The form on the desk updated without ink moving, the letters simply appearing. Option A, reclassification. Option B, misfile. Somewhere deep in the shelves, paper began to rustle, not like pages turning, like bodies shifting in a crowded room. The cabinets trembled softly, eager. I looked at the chair, the circle of light, the blank line where my consent would become a record. And I realized the room didn't need locks, it didn't need force. It only needed me to believe that the outside world was worse. If you were hearing this right now, would you sign to stay human, or refuse, and risk becoming something the world can't find again? I didn't know a room could make choices for you. The room waited, not patiently, expectantly, the kind of waiting that assumes the answer has already been given and is only allowing you the dignity of arriving at it yourself. The circle of light felt warmer now, almost comforting, like a desk lamp late at night when you're the only one awake. That was the trick. The room never rushed. It seduced with normality. I didn't sit. I stayed standing just outside the edge of the light, where shadows still belonged to me. My heart beat too loudly. I was afraid it would register, get recorded, turn into data. The filing cabinets stood silent, drawers sealed, as if they were holding their breath along with me. "You don't need to do this," I said, and immediately hated the word need. It implied obligation. The phone rang. Once. I didn't answer it. Instead, the desk responded. A new sheet slid forward, stopping perfectly at the edge of the light. No dramatic movement, no sound beyond paper against wood. It was titled, Subject History, Preliminary Draft. Draft. As if my life were still being edited. Lines of text populated the page slowly, like someone typing from a distance. Childhood milestones, schools attended, addresses I hadn't thought about in years. Harmless things. Then the tone shifted. Subject exhibits avoidance behavior. Subject displays denial when confronted with authority. Subject responds to isolation with self-narration. My chest tightened. "That's not authority," I said. "That's theft." The lights dimmed a fraction, not enough to notice unless you were already afraid. The cabinets trembled softly, the way a crowd does when it senses momentum. One drawer slid open just a finger's width. The label read, Mistakes. Inside were photographs, not printed, projected, hovering faintly like reflections on glass. Moments I recognized instantly and wished I didn't. A closed door, a turned back, a message left unread until it was too late. Each image lingered just long enough to hurt, then faded. The room didn't accuse, it curated. I felt a strange pull then, not toward the chair, but toward the idea of sitting, of resting, of letting the room hold all this weight so I wouldn't have to anymore. That was the most terrifying realization so far. The room wasn't lying. It could make it easier. My phone vibrated. No signal. No reason. 11:11 p.m. approaching. Another line appeared beneath it, softer somehow. You can stop remembering if you want. I closed my eyes. For one dangerous second, I imagined what that would feel like. Silence. Clean shelves. No replay. No guilt. Just a label and a place to sit. When I opened my eyes, the chair had moved closer. Not dragged, not scraped, just closer than before, as if it had always been there and my memory was only now catching up. "I won't sign," I said. My voice shook, but it existed. That mattered. The phone rang again.
This time, I answered. "Hello?" My own voice replied, older than the one on the tape, calmer than the one in my head. "You already did." The desk lamp flickered, and for a blink, I saw myself sitting in the chair, pen in hand, head bowed in concentration. The image vanished immediately, leaving the desk empty again, but the after-image burned behind my eyes. Text appeared on the form, bold and final. Consent inferred through continued presence. "No," I said, louder now, "that's not consent." The room inhaled sharply. The air thickened, metallic, heavy enough to taste. From the cabinet labeled names, a low rustling began, paper sliding, tags brushing together.
The sound wasn't loud, but it was crowded, like too many people whispering at once. I realized then that the room wasn't trying to erase me, it was trying to standardize me, smooth the edges, reduce me to something storable, something that fit. The clock on my phone ticked over. 11:11 p.m. Everything stopped. The breathing, the rustling, even my pulse seemed to hesitate. In that stillness, the desk drawer opened slowly and revealed a single tag, blank except for a blinking cursor where a name should be. Waiting. I understood the choice now. Not sign or refuse. Stay distinct or become easy. My throat burned as I forced the words out, not to the room, but to myself. I said my name, once, then again, louder. I shaped every syllable carefully, like rebuilding something fragile by hand. The cursor flickered. The room didn't react, not yet, and that terrified me more than anything it had done before. I said my name until it stopped sounding like a word and became only breath and shape.
The room listened. It always listened. The cursor on the blank tag blinked in time with my heartbeat, patient, confident that repetition would wear me down. The circle of light tightened another inch, as if the room were focusing its attention the way a lens focuses heat. "You can't have it," I whispered. "Not the name, the moment. The moment when I decided who I was." The cabinets answered by opening all at once. Not violently, methodically. Drawers slid out in perfect alignment, revealing their contents like an exhibit arranged for inspection. Voices exhaled a chorus of murmurs, thousands of syllables overlapping, familiar and not. Regrets rustled with a dry, brittle sound, as if the paper itself were aging faster. Dreams released a low hum that pressed against my temples until images threatened to surface, places I hadn't seen, outcomes I hadn't chosen. The desk drawer opened last. Inside was the shredder again, its mouth dark and waiting.
The strip of paper with my name hovered above it, suspended by nothing I could see. The room had learned a new trick. It didn't need my hand anymore. I took a step back and felt the floor resist me, just a little, like a rubber mat designed to keep things in place. The exit sign beyond the door flickered, its letters briefly rearranging themselves into a word I refused to read. The building was closing ranks. My phone buzzed once more. No alert sound, no vibration pattern I recognized. On the screen, a single line of text appeared. Last chance to simplify. Below it, a live counter began to tick down. Seconds peeled away, clean and unforgiving. I did the only thing left that wasn't part of their system. I made a mess. I swept my arm across the desk, sending paper skidding into the shadows, breaking the room's neat geometry. The lamp toppled and clattered, the circle of light shattering into irregular shapes. The cabinet shuddered, surprised. The hovering strip of paper dipped, then steadied. Angry now. Noise mattered. Disorder mattered.
The room had rules, and rules hate chaos. I grabbed the cassette tape again, my first words, and smashed it against the desk corner until the plastic cracked. The tape spilled out in a nest of brown ribbon, fragile and ugly. I wound it around my hands, felt it cut into my skin, felt something real enough to hurt. "My voice isn't a file," I said, louder than I'd ever spoken in this place. "And my name isn't yours to store." The room inhaled, sharp and ragged. For the first time, its breathing didn't match mine. The cabinets rattled as if arguing among themselves. The shredder whined, uncertain. The counter on my phone hit 0. Nothing happened. Then everything happened at once. The lights blew out. The phones went dark. The murmurs collapsed into a single sustained tone that pressed down like depth. The floor lurched, not moving me, but unanchoring the idea of where down was. In the darkness, the strip of paper with my name finally fell. I felt it brush my ankle, light as a dead leaf. I kicked it away. The door slammed shut. The latch clicked. The room went silent. In that silence, I realized the most dangerous thing of all. The room didn't need to win tonight. It had learned enough. It knew my cadence, my resistance, the sound I made when I chose myself. That knowledge would keep. The lights came back on, dim, embarrassed. The cabinet slid closed. The desk was just a desk again. The chair sat where it always had. The blank tag lay on the floor, cursor gone, as if waiting for another time. The door unlocked. I left without looking back. The hallway felt cheap, but it was moving. The stairs carried me down. The street accepted me without comment. Windows returned to buildings. Faces passed without speaking my name. The city pretended not to know me, and I pretended to believe it. At home, I checked mirrors. I said my name out loud until it fit again.
I slept with the lights on. In the morning, I went back to work, another building, another floor, and told myself the room was an exception. Weeks later, a small package arrived with no return address. Inside was a white paper tag tied with twine. Blank. On the back, in red pencil, a note. Retention achieved. I burned it in the sink and watched the smoke curl, trying to memorize the exact shape of my breath as it left me. Because sometimes, late at night, when the city goes quiet and the air tastes faintly metallic, I swear I hear paper being turned, somewhere nearby, learning the sound of me again. If this story stays with you, don't let it stop here. Subscribe, share it with someone who listens late at night, and leave a comment with your name before something else decides to remember it for you.